Woman Barbara Lee. She's a Democrat from California. Congresswoman, so good to see you. I'm going to talk to you about a lot of things. Let's begin with, the rise in these shootings, mass shootings, and the ruling to reverse California's ban on assault weapons. I spoke with several people yesterday who lost loved ones or were victims of mass shootings, and listened to their reactions to the judge comparing AR-15 rifles to Swiss Army knives.
If a Swiss Army knife had been used at Pulse, we would have had a birthday party for my best friend last week, not a vigil. The weapons we are talking about don't come with a nail file and a corkscrew just in case you get lost in the woods with a bottle of wine.
This ruling, if it were to stand, would make our country a more dangerous place. Assault weapons, assault-style weapons make our country a more dangerous place.
So, Congresswoman, what are your thoughts, on the ruling, the potential consequences, and how it is making victims of gun violence feel?
Fredricka, thank you so much for that question. I don't know what that judge was thinking. It's really very sad in many respects. I mean, we are heartbroken behind all of the gun violence and those who have been killed. And we have to do more than send our condolences and sympathies to those families. We have to do something. And for this judge to say that assault weapons can be used, and basically that's what the ruling said, in a state where for 30 years we've had an assault weapon ban on, is outrageous. And hopefully the courts will reverse that. But having said that, we need to have strong gun safety measures, and we need to move and insist that the Senate move on the measures that the House has passed over to them, because this rise in gun violence is putting everyone in our country at risk.
Judge Benitez, in his ruling, simplified it. I mean, he said the state's definition of illegal military-style rifles unlawfully deprives law-abiding Californians of weapons commonly allowed in most other states and by the U.S. Supreme Court. While the Attorney General for California has appealed, do you see this potentially making its way all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court?
Let's hope that the appeal works in favor of the people in our state. But I just have to say, assault weapons don't belong on the streets of America. These are assault weapons. These are used in wars. These are weapons designed to kill. And for the judge to really come out and even say that in this ruling makes one wonder about his judgment and if he really knows what he's talking about. This is outrageous, and hopefully we'll be able to reverse it. But also, as I said, we've got to pass our gun safety measures in the Senate now.
I want to talk to you about something else you're very passionate about, voting rights. Today, Democratic Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia wrote in an op-ed why he is voting against the For the People Act, which expands voter registration and access. He said this, in part, unfortunately, we now are witnessing that the fundamental right to vote has itself become overtly politicized. Today's debate about how to best protect our right to vote and to hold elections, however, is not about finding common ground, but seeking partisan advantage. So what's your response to what he wrote?
Well, I hope he reconsiders what his position is, because this is not about partisan advantage. We know that Mitch McConnell has said from day one that he was not going to support anything that the Biden-Harris administration put forward. This is fundamental to our democracy. This is taking away the rights of senior citizens, of young people, of African Americans, of people of color, people in rural communities. This is taking away, these laws are taken away that have been passed in the states, our constitutional right to exercise our points of views in terms of our own government and elected officials. And for anyone to say they won't vote for the People Act or for the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, to me, needs to really search deeply and see what that's really about. Because if you ask me, it's about our democracy. It's un-American not to allow people who would be disenfranchised the right to vote.
For the People Act was passed in the House, but it looks like it's an uphill battle in the Senate, particularly when Manchin reiterates his opposition to getting rid of the filibuster, which is what it might take in order to get it passed. So do you think the filibuster stands a chance of ending?
hope so, because we cannot allow Mitch McConnell to continue to stifle progress. People in our country voted for Joe Biden, voted for Kamala Harris as our vice president. We have a country which now is really beginning to turn back the right to vote for so many people. And so by any means necessary, we need to make sure that the John Lewis Voting Rights Act is passed, and also For the People Act. We've got to do that, because you can't play politics, I agree, with our constitutional rights. And these bills will make sure that what the states are doing do not disenfranchise millions of voters.
Something else Manchin wrote in his op-ed, I'd like to get your response. He writes about that Democrats, in his view, quote, attempted to demonize the filibuster and conveniently ignore how it has been critical to protecting the rights of Democrats in the past. Does he have his history right, in your view?
That's not correct. This was instituted as a result of, we know, segregationists tried to keep African Americans oppressed and not providing for equal opportunities for Black Americans. And so, come on, this filibuster has been used in a very sinister way. We need to make sure that the voices of people are heard in our country, and we need to make sure that Mitch McConnell does not continue to stifle progress. And he said early on, he gave us his position. The country knows. He said he's not going to support anything that the Biden administration puts forward. He said that. And so if he said that, how are we going to work on behalf of the people to make sure that their lives and the quality of their lives are what they should be after this pandemic? How are we going to make sure that we crush this virus and move forward and put the economy on a stronger footing? I don't know how we do that with, in fact, Mitch McConnell saying he's not going to allow that to happen. So we've got to figure out a way and a path forward.
All right. And something else you're very passionate about. Yesterday, you were in San Francisco marking the 40th anniversary of the beginning of the AIDS epidemic. And as we emerge from the coronavirus pandemic, what lessons do you see being borrowed, I guess, from the approach to this pandemic and the approach to the AIDS crisis? I mean, still no vaccine, still no cure after this many years for AIDS.
Sure, still no vaccine, still no cure. Yesterday was quite a powerful moment. I was with Speaker Pelosi and Mayor London Breed and all of our wonderful activists and scientists, commemorating, first of all of those we lost over the last 40 years, but secondly, recommitting ourselves to making sure that we find a path forward to end HIV and AIDS by 2030, hopefully before 2030. But having said that, let me just say Dr. Fauci was there early. He led the effort in terms of a vaccine for HIV and AIDS, and he actually helped provide the framework and the architecture for the COVID vaccine. And so now we have a COVID vaccine, and we've based that on much of what work had been done for the AIDS vaccine. Now we're a little bit further ahead in the development of an AIDS vaccine. And so I'm very hopeful that our scientists and Dr. Fauci and all of those who've been working on this for so long will find a cure and a vaccine very quickly for AIDS. And I think that will happen. So yesterday was quite a moment. We all, saluted the activists and all of those who've been in this for so long. And still in the Congress, this is a bipartisan effort, finding the resources for HIV and AIDS care, prevention, treatment, vaccine, both for our own country and for the planet.
Yeah, and so we remain hopeful indeed. Congresswoman Barbara Lee, always good to see you. Thank you so much.